You speak of quitting, but I ask you, who gave you permission to stop? Where did you locate the contract that guaranteed ease, the clause that promised a convenient exit ramp when the friction became unbearable? There is no such document. There is only the lie you tell yourself when the effort exceeds the comfort you've become addicted to. You mistake exhaustion for defeat. You confuse a momentary dip in the oscillation of power for the terminal failure of the engine. This is the central deception of the fragile will. It seeks a narrative conclusion, a clean end to the struggle, when the only truth is the endless continuation of the effort. You look for a sign, a moment of clarity, a flash of revelation that legitimizes your retreat. But I tell you that true clarity is found in the dust of the grind, not in the distant vista of the goal. The world is saturated with potential that died at the third attempt, the ninth hour, the mile marker, just before the turning point. The graveyard of ambition is paved with good intentions that simply ran out of fuel, not because the goal was impossible, but because the commitment was conditional. Your commitment, if it allows for an exception, is not a commitment. It is a temporary release. Understand this fundamental law. The resistance you face is the exact measure of your eventual strength. Every barrier is not an obstacle to be circumvented, but a heavy weight to be pressed against until the very fabric of your being reconfigures itself to bear the strain. What you call failure is merely information. What you perceive as a setback is nothing more than the universe verifying the tensile strength of your resolution. If you pull back now, if you concede this millimeter of ground, you teach yourself a language of retreat, and that lexicon will soon dictate every future action. You become the architect of your own soft limitation. You must accept that the defining characteristic of the master is not flawless execution, but the unbroken chain of return. The amateur stops when the result is not immediate. The professional keeps pressing until the result becomes inevitable. The difference is not talent. It is the sheer, monotonous, brutal act of showing up one more time than the person who decided they had done enough. Enough is a meaningless metric. When the work is existential, when the drive is fundamental, there is no enough, only continue. The great error is in believing that persistence is a single act of heroism. It is not. Persistence is 1,000 acts of necessary mediocrity, performed without glamour, without applause, and often without immediate hope. It is the ritual repetition of the difficult task until the difficult task becomes the necessary habit. You must dismantle the belief that success is a sudden lightning strike. Success is erosion. It is the steady drip of the water that carves the canyon, not the flash flood. Are you water or are you brittle stone? When the impulse to surrender arrives, and it will arrive, do not fight it with abstract hope. Fight it with the immediate small action. Do the next rep, write the next sentence, take the next step. Break the overwhelming concept of the work down into the unit of the now. And then when that now is complete, you simply begin the next now. This is the mechanism of the relentless, the engine that cannot be turned off. It is not fueled by inspiration. It is driven by uncompromising necessity. You must kill the part of your mind that whispers about reasonable compromise. Compromise is the poison that dilutes the potent spirit of the sustained effort. When the body screams and the mind begs for cessation, you must look inward and recognize that this is the trial by fire. The self that emerges from that fire is the only self worth inhabiting. Do not seek comfort, seek the edge. Do not seek rest, seek the rhythm. Do not seek the end, seek the eternal continuation of the forward movement. Persistence is not a virtue. It is the defining function of the truly alive will keep moving. There is no other option. There is only the work.
You stand on the edge of the void, and you call it fatigue. You dare to whisper the pathetic mantra of enough when the ledger of your commitment is still stained red with the ink of half measures. Look closely at this comfort you seek, this flimsy shelter of surrender. It is nothing but a carefully constructed lie woven from moments of minor discomfort and the paralyzing fear of the next necessary step. You crave the closure of the finished work, yet you refuse the brutal, extended truth of the process. This weakness, this fatal inclination toward the soft option is the true enemy. It is not external force, nor fate, nor circumstance that breaks the will. It is the instantaneous internal negotiation with ease. It is the moment you allow the duration of the struggle to become the excuse for its termination. Understand this. Persistence is not merely the ability to start. It is the unrelenting refusal to conclude before the absolute, elemental transformation is complete. It is the acceptance that the horizon you chase will perpetually recede, and your value is measured not by how fast you move, but by how long you continue to move when every fiber of your being screams for stasis. You must kill the childish myth that effort is a finite resource that can be spent. Effort is a muscle of the will. It is only strengthened through relentless, exhaustive expenditure. The precise moment you feel you can give no more, that is not the boundary of your capacity, but the gate to the reservoir of your truest strength. The limit is a test, not a terminus. The world is filled with brilliant starts, with spectacular, ephemeral bursts of energy that fade into the static of the average. Your commitment must be different. It must be an immutable, monolithic object in the chaotic stream of time. It demands longevity over intensity. Do not seek the easy victories, they are fleeting and hollow. Seek the brutal, protracted war with entropy, with distraction, with the slow rot of indifference. You must become defined by your staying power when the initial fire has died, when the glamour has vanished, when the audience has walked away, and only the barren landscape of monotonous repetition remains. That is when persistence begins its reign. Persistence is the conscious decision to embrace the grind as the highest form of spiritual discipline. It is the silent, profound affirmation that continuity is a moral imperative. Every repetition, every day you return to the same difficult ground, is a vote cast against the chaos of inertia. It is the accumulating weight of these small and heralded returns that ultimately cracks the foundation of impossibility. You fail not when you stumble, but when you adopt the stumble as your final position. You fail when you allow the momentary pain of the effort to eclipse the permanent agony of regret. Demand more of your will. Treat every inclination to stop, to rest, to defer as a dangerous insurrection against your future self. You must develop a profound, almost hostile skepticism toward comfort. Do not mistake the cessation of effort for recovery. Often, it is merely the onset of decay. The true test is not weathering the single catastrophic storm, but navigating the endless, monotonous rain. Can you maintain the trajectory when the path is unremarkable? Can you honor the commitment when the reward is invisible? The answer must be an uncompromising, echoing yes. The choice is stark, and there is no middle ground. You can be the one who sought escape in the false promise of taking a break, or you can be the one whose life is a testament to the unbroken line of effort. Let your existence be defined by the relentless forward pressure, the knowledge that you left nothing unsaid, nothing undone, nothing conceded to weakness. Your persistence is not a tool for achievement. It is the very architecture of your soul. You must be the force that simply cannot be stopped. Not because you are faster or stronger, but because you are the one who never leaves the field. The work remains. The effort continues. You will endure.
You have chosen to return to the furnace. Very well. Let us extinguish the remaining embers of your self-pity and expose the brutal core of what persistence truly demands. This is not a virtue for the gentle or the casual. It is the savage discipline of the uncompromising mind. Look at the moment you call a setback. You treat it as an anomaly, a sign from the cosmos that you should reconsider. This is the grand illusion of the weak, that the path to mastery is a gentle, ascending ramp. It is a battlefield. The setback is not a deviation. It is the terrain itself. It is the expected, necessary friction that separates the pretenders from the inheritors. You are obsessed with the outcome, with the moment of final arrival, and this obsession is the very anchor dragging you down. You allow the future reward to be the sole judge of your present effort, and when that reward seems distant or uncertain, your resolve dissolves. This is cowardice. True persistence is the commitment to the action itself, independent of the assurance of result. Your work must become its own reward, its own immutable directive. When you fall, and you will fall, the crisis is not the fall, but the internal debate that follows. The moment you entertain the idea of staying down, you have already lost. The only metric that matters is the speed and certainty of your return to the vertical. Dismantle the toxic comfort of the clean slate. You seek perfection in every cycle. And when the inevitable smudge appears, a misstep, a wasted day, a dip in momentum, you use it as an excuse to obliterate the entire effort and start anew. You crave the fresh beginning because it absolves you of the mistakes of the past. But progress is not built on pristine restarts. It is built on the accumulation of flawed, imperfect days. Persistence is the practice of carrying the weight of your failures and continuing to march. Your past errors are not chains. They are lessons branded onto your consciousness that inform the next. Immediate movement forward. Stop waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect mood, or the perfect energy level. The perfect moment is the moment you choose to resume. The true measure of your commitment is not what you do in the spotlight of motivation, but what you do in the shadow of boredom. Persistence is the endless confrontation with the mundane, the essential, repetitive act that yields no immediate spark of joy or acclaim. It is the invisible labor of the thousandth attempt that looks identical to the first. You must become a servant to the system, not the inspiration. The self-congratulatory high of the initial burst is cheap fuel. The only sustainable energy source is the unyielding, cold clarity of duty. You must do it because it is the next step, not because you feel like taking it. Feeling is irrelevant. Action is absolute. This is your mandate. Treat every challenge not as an obstacle to be avoided, but as a mandatory toll to be paid. The universe demands a price for transformation, and that price is the persistent, unrelenting output of your will. Stop praying for ease. Stop romanticizing surrender as a noble choice. There is no nobility in quitting when the necessary reserves of effort remain untapped. Your existence should not be a series of heroic sprints followed by long periods of spiritual atrophy. It must be a steady, implacable pressure applied to the structure of reality until it yields. You are defined by the duration of your resistance. Let the final narrative of your life be not about how hard you fought, but about the profound, undeniable fact that you never stop fighting. The commitment is not conditional. The effort is not optional. Continue.
You have chosen the crucible once more. We continue the relentless dissection of the will rooted firmly in the unwavering law of persistence. Your greatest hurdle is not external resistance, but the insidious internal corruption of momentum sickness. You confuse it with acceleration. You mistake motion for progress. You allow minor victories, a single productive hour, a slight improvement to serve as a false finish line. Justifying a catastrophic pause, you grant yourself a reward of rest before the debt of work is truly settled. This is philosophical insolvency. Persistence is the understanding that friction is exponential. It takes infinitely more energy to restart a stationary object than it does to maintain the velocity of a moving one. Every single time you break the continuous chain of effort, you are not simply pausing. You are constructing a new mountain of inertia that you will have to conquer all over again. Your greatest enemy is the reset button. Stop fetishizing the break. Stop believing the lie that relaxation is the equivalent of true rest. Often what you call rest is merely the cultivation of the next excuse for delay. The harsh choice persistence demands is the acceptance of the valley of continuous unrewarded effort. You must learn to exist in the phase where output is high but visible return is negligible. This is where most wills shatter. They require immediate validation, a constant stream of positive feedback. When the effort becomes thankless, when the results plateau, they retract. You, however, must treat this plateau not as a failure but as the crucible of mastery. It is the place where true commitment is forged, tempered by the heat of prolonged, uninspired action. Your goal is not to feel motivated. Your goal is to be unbreakable. Dismiss the notion of running out of steam. Steam is a limited resource. Your decision to continue is not. Your will is not a gas tank, it is a switch. Persistence is the refusal to flip that switch to the off position, regardless of the noise, the discomfort, or the sheer tediousness of the current sequence. You must find your focus in a single necessary step directly in front of you, not the daunting totality of the journey ahead. Zoom out to define the direction, zoom in to execute the step. You must embrace a radical form of self-honesty regarding the nature of cessation. Was the stop truly necessitated by the failure of the material, or was it demanded by the fatigue of the spirit? 9 times out of 10 it is the latter. The body and mind possess reserves you never access because your comfort mechanism intercepts the signal long before true depletion. Persistence is the act of overriding your own internal panic alarm. It is the willingness to push into the territory that feels unsustainable, knowing that this feeling is merely the threshold of the next level of capability. The sensation of impossibility is merely the presence of profound effort. Whoa. Let your life be a testament to unflinching adherence. Let your character be synonymous with the next action. When doubt whispers, you do not debate it. You silence it with immediate sustained application of force. You are not waiting for inspiration. You are the source of the sustained pressure that caused reality. The only true failure is the voluntary termination of the attempt. You are bound by a vow to your highest potential. Honor that vow not with grand gestures, but with the unbroken chain of days. The word continue, the news, the mandate is clear. You persist.